Hey friends, welcome to another Digital Wednesday Night Youth. We're going to try to keep things sort of familiar. We've got a minute to win it game, we've got devotion, and we've got prayer. So right now we have a minute to win it home edition. What I want to do is have minute to win it games that you guys can play at home. So we're not using all the stuff that we have at the church, we're using stuff that you guys can find in your home. Last week we did something with the quarter. I still think I have the record at 5 seconds. So look at the last week's video, see if you can beat my record at 5 seconds. I don't think anybody has done that yet. Tonight is something a little more complicated. I think you guys should all still have the materials. This game is called Spoon Frog, all right? Some people call it Teacup Catapult. But I call it Spoon Frog. So basically you get 3 cups, 1, 2, 3, and this cup is my favorite North Carolina huge cup with my coffee in it. But you get 3 cups. It can be, probably shouldn't use glass, but 3 cups, and then you get 3 spoons. Like this is kind of a big spoon and this is kind of a small spoon, so it doesn't really matter what you get, just something that you feel comfortable playing with. This is how you play it. You get the first spoon, you put the handle end underneath the spoon end of the second spoon, and you hit the spoon into the first spoon, and you catapult the second spoon into the cup. Now that sounded complicated, but basically you just hit this spoon to make this spoon go in the cup. That's pretty simple, pretty easy to do. Sounds simple, probably won't be easy to do. We'll find out. So we got a minute to do all 3 cups. You got to get 3 spoons and 3 cups. Let's see if we can do it. Ready? Set.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
Whoa. 2. So close. So close. 3. See if you can beat 15 seconds. 15 seconds. See if you can beat that. I don't know if you can. That was pretty good. That was a really good run. I'm going to let you in a little secret. I practiced this like 3 times before I did this. So I'll give you guys 3 other chances too. You guys got 3 chances to finish this in 15 seconds. So here's what you can do. Before we go on to the devotion and the prayers, why don't you pause it now, set it all up, do it on your kitchen table or whatever your parents are going to let you do the game on. Maybe it's just the floor, I don't know. But do the game, see if you can beat 15 seconds, and pause it now, and then come back and we'll do the devotion and the prayer. See you guys in a minute. All right, welcome back everybody. I hope the game was fun. If you beat it in a minute, I'm impressed. I really don't know how I did it in 15 seconds. So don't feel bad if you can't do that. That was a lot of luck. That was really cool. But today, the lights are off. I am taking you around the church. I thought we could have a little journey around the church again. That was kind of fun last time. So I want to tell you guys about a story in the Bible called the story of Joseph. I think it's a story that we can think about and be encouraged by. Now, I don't think that the story of Joseph is a good story because Joseph is the hero. I think that the story of Joseph is a good story because of how God is working. And so let me tell you what I mean by that. Because Joseph is a guy who is thrown into some circumstances that are pretty bad, that are out of his control. And that might sound familiar at a time like this, where there are a lot of people that are thrown into circumstances out of their control, where there is a lot of potential for worry and uncertainty. And so Joseph, in his story, he was hated by his brothers, thrown into slavery. From there, he was framed for a crime that he didn't commit, and then he was thrown into prison. So this guy Joseph knows a lot about being in uncertain circumstances that he cannot control, and he has no idea how long he's going to be in those circumstances. So you guys may feel the same way about our circumstances right now. You guys may have no idea how long we're going to be in the circumstances right now. You may have no idea what's going to happen. But what I'm trying to tell you is that's okay. Because now, it's not okay because of what happens to Joseph. So if you know the story, you know that Joseph eventually becomes second in command of all of Egypt and then saves all of Egypt through the way that he collected food and they could survive a famine. I'm not telling you that God is going to put you in second in command of Egypt and you're going to save people through a famine. That's not what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is that Joseph is a glimpse of what God is going to do through Jesus. Yeah, he's a glimpse of what God is going to do through Jesus, and he really ties together what God has been doing in Genesis. And it's a really cool story because we see that God is working through people despite their wickedness. So despite how wicked people are, he is working good in those situations. Despite how bad the situation is, God is working good. Now, the good that he's working is according to his promise, not necessarily according to everybody's individual lives, but according to his promise. Now, if we have Jesus, who the story of Joseph is giving us a glimpse of, then we see that God does work for the good of those who love him. Oh, where's my lights here? There we go. I'm going to have to walk back through this whole church and turn off all these lights. But anyways, so what we see is that God works for the good of those who love him. And God delights in people being obedient, I think. Now, our good circumstances don't happen because of us being good. We don't earn, our salvation, right? We don't earn these good things. That God graciously gives us good things. So if you think back to Job last week, God was just and right. That was the whole point of Job. And he would have been just and right if Job hadn't been blessed at the end. He would have still been worthy of worship. And however, what we do know is that God delights in obedience. God delights in obedience. Look at this. It's the Homer Grove Youth Board. God delights in obedience. So, there's 3 things that I think that we can take away from Joseph and his story. And those 3 things are this. Number 1, I think that this is a time where we can emulate Joseph by being wise. Okay? I think we should be wise. Throughout all of the uncertainty and all of the bad things that happened to Joseph, Joseph was wise, godly wisdom, and he was obedient to God, and he served God. Even in the face of being sold into slavery, and even in the face of prison, he was obedient to God, and he was wise. I think that in this time where we are uncertain about what's going to happen with this virus thing, if we are uncertain what's going to happen with our families, I think what we can still focus on is being wise. Number 2, I think that what we can do is be productive. Joseph was extremely productive, not just saving all of Egypt, but in every part he was productive in helping people. I think what we can focus on, what we can remember to do is focus on helping people. Focus on being productive and advancing So I'll give you just 3 examples of what you can do. Number 1, I think what you guys can do in this time of being at home is help around the house. Be productive. Help your parents with household chores. Help your parents with house projects. Help your brothers and sisters with homework, with things that they want to do. Maybe help them play a game or 2. Be productive and help people. Also, you can be productive and keep learning. Like, this is an excellent time to start the discipleship challenge. This is an excellent time to continue it. You could probably finish all the small books during this time of being holed up in your house. You can also just do your homework. You can get ahead in your schoolwork. This is a great time that we can be productive. Number 3, this is the 3rd thing, and this is absolutely needed if you're going to do any of those things. The 3rd thing you need to do is be patient. We don't know how long this is going to last. I know that schools are closed till, I think, May. They're closed for a long time. So we have an idea, but we don't really know because things have been changing minute by minute. I mean, definitely day by day. They've been changing. And so we have to be patient. And I think that if you have Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you can have eternal assurance. And that gives you an incredible ability to be patient. So let's think about while we're worshiping God, while we're being wise, while we're being productive with our time that God has given us, I think we should also be patient. Now remember, all those things that I just said, that means patience is not just sitting there. Patience is still being wise and productive. And so when I think about the story of Joseph, I first and foremost think about how God works despite our wickedness, how God is giving us a glimpse of who Jesus is and how he's going to work. And he gives us a glimpse of if we have Jesus, we know that we can have assurance for the future. And we also know that God delights in obedience, and that because of Joseph's obedience, we're able to see some really good ways to live. We're able to see how God really delights in us and how we should really behave and how we should really function in times like this. So before we end tonight, though, I want you guys to pay attention to the link that I have below to a Dropbox page. And I want you guys to look at those prayer things. I want you guys to see if you can pick 5 things to pray for. Okay, pick 5 things to pray for. And if we each pick 5 things, then I think that we can have prayed for everything on the list. And like Pastor Wayne said last week in our Digital Sunday, he said that this is a time where God's people are being called to pray. So be wise, be prayerful, be wise, be obedient, be productive, means be helpful to people, be productive, continue learning, be productive, continue growing in biblical knowledge and wisdom, and be patient. So while we're waiting for God to work and sort this out, let's remember to be patient, and love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.